This is part 4 and the final part of my 5-star tour of Oakland, California. I'll put links here on the screen in case you've missed one of the earlier parts. Alright, the shadow here belongs to my tour guide for this afternoon on my final day here. Right, this was just a weekend trip. Now, I don't quite know where he's taking me, other than we're headed downtown. Now, the first place we go is here, and I tell him, I say, I don't need any more coffee. And he sort of laughs at me, and he says, you think this is a coffee house? He goes, this is a place where young men can come and be mentored through a school opportunity to get a degree or a certificate. Right? This is about believing that friendship and mentorship in the community is essential. It's not about coffee. And then he looks at me a little skeptically and he says, what do you know about Oakland? And I show him, I say, no, well, look, I've got pictures. I know a lot. I showed him, I said, look, I took a picture of this this cool shadow, and I got a picture of this like tree bending over, and I got a picture of it's like a silhouette shot of like traffic camera. I got a picture of this like cool car behind bars, and I got a picture of like this like painting of a woman and a woman behind like a big trash can full of vegetables. Oh, and I had this one, and check it out. It's like you think it's a plant, but really it's a bag of Cheetos. And he says to me, it's like, so you don't know anything about Oakland, do you? And he continues. He says, Oakland is a place where community matters and people look out for one another. Let me show you something. So we walk a couple blocks to a corner store where this is the scene. And you can see all the candles on the ground. All right, a man had died here the night before. Now, the candles are there because that's where he lived. And these people were paying their respects. You know, he says, people in Oakland understand that love is an expression of power you can use to transform our world. Right, that somebody loves you. We know you can do great things. It is a community with dreams. And a community that knows that sometimes life throws you a detour. You come home, sometimes your home's not even there. And it can happen to all of us. So, Mr. Photographer, he says to me, Oakland is. You're trying to figure out what Oakland is. You gotta look past the superficial. And you gotta understand that sometimes what looks a little ugly is just a mural in progress. And our murals, they're not just murals, they're a story of our history, of our community, and of our roots that run deep. And the community is complex. But there is a common theme that we serve the people, the body and the soul. Because there's a difference between sitting alone outside and sitting alone outside. Sometimes what people need is a companion, or to believe in something greater, or yoga, dance, and community. And sometimes it's about community support services, or just owning a cool car and listening to music. Maybe it's a bike ride. Maybe it's a moment of peace. Or maybe we just need to cross the street for some fried chicken. Or a walk in the sun. Maybe some California poppies. Or a snack from Chinatown. Or maybe we just need some African jewelry. Or a new plant. Now, Oakland can seem crazy, scary. Maybe there's symbols you don't understand. Or you don't know which way to go. Or it can just feel like a photographer is following you. Or maybe sometimes all you see is the trash. But the people of Oakland, we figure it out. This town's not too big. We can navigate the change. Families can improvise. And the people of Oakland, stand in solidarity and believe in justice and fair treatment of all people. And he finally says to me, Mr. Portland man, before you tell people to get a pod and to move to Oakland, right, come here to live with us, to learn about us, not to displace us. Now, this was sort of a big conversation I wasn't really expecting with my tour guide. I thanked him and I walked more downtown and towards Chinatown, and I took a few more pictures. I stopped by the East Bay Photo Collective, made a new friend, made new friends. Checked out their event for the evening. And then I went and got some really good food at Lounge Chinatown. And I thought about all the things my tour guide had said. Chatted with some more locals. Now the next morning, I popped over to Royal We Film Lab. I dropped off my color film, which they developed. Right, all my color photos from these slideshows came from Royal We. Headed over to the airport. Before I knew it, I was back in Portland, Oregon. So some final thoughts, right? This was a quick trip, basically an impromptu trip to Oakland. I think I learned a lot about the city. I learned a lot about myself. One thing that stands out to me is that right, I am a white man. I'm whiter than white, right? It's like winter in Portland white. And I was alone, and I was carrying a fancy camera, and sometimes my stuff, right? A bag. And sometimes I did feel like people were quick to sort of notice me and catch that I was carrying a camera. But then sort of right as soon as they noticed it was just a camera, there was like an immediate sense of like, all right, we're good, right? I respect you. Right? Sort of an understanding of how different we all are and how we can all sort of share the same space. Right? And no just like, quick judgments. Which I think is sort of like, maybe I'm projecting too much, but it's like that's sort of the story of Oakland, right? Is right, figuring out how everyone can live together and respect each other. And I have to be careful to not tell a simple story here. All right, I hope that you enjoyed my photos at least, right? I know my commentary was sort of all over the place, sometimes fun, sometimes nonsensical. But I'm hoping my photos have more to actually say than I do. So, all right, take care.